Hi everyone, welcome to our last episode on the DAOs Block series. Today's the fourth episode, and you guys know me already. I'm Era, and we have on stage Mario, moderator, and today we have with us Michael Healy, founder of Unit Network. Hi Michael. Eva Oberholzer, Chief Growth Officer and DFINITY. Hi, nice to have you. And Samuel Baurle, content writer at DAOhaus. Hi, Samuel. Welcome to you all. And today we're going to talk about how to succeed with your DAOs and everything revolving around that. But before we get into juicy details and learn about everything on this topic from you guys, I will pass the mic to Mario to get to know you a little more.
Hi guys, pleasure to have you all. Thanks, Era, for the intro. Hi, dear audience. I see some of you also pulled through to our fourth kind of episode of the DAO series. And just to give a little bit of context for those that are new, where we're coming from. In the first episode, we had a introduction about what DAOs are, and if you have some catching up to do, then this is the way. This is a good place to start. And then we talked about some examples, consensus and Ocean protocol, and then we had a tool session on how to make this a reality. So today is, as Era said, about how to make it successful or what to avoid, and these kind of topics. So thanks to all of you for joining, dear panelists. As our listeners know, now is the time of truth about our little fun fact about ourselves that we share, and about myself. I always have to start, God, why are we doing this? We, with my other company, we have an intern since last week who also has an underground techno label in Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Really?
So I hand the ball over to Era.
Oh my God. Okay, and I will hand the ball over to Eva. I'm so sorry. I'll go last. You know the drill already.
Okay.
All right, that's interesting. Fun fact, I can probably add to that. I have I'm the owner of a guest house and co-living space in Portugal next to a surf beach, because I work for a long time remotely, and that came out of a need. So it's like I use my entrepreneurial spirit and actually start a business to fulfill my own needs. So I'm my best customer right now.
Great, that's wonderful. I have a couple of referrals to make to you. I have a bunch of entrepreneurial friends who spend their time in Portugal now, as you're surely aware that there's a lot.
Nice, it's very nice. And how about you, Michael?
Really good, thanks. Fun fact is I'm on a bike ride, a 6-day bike ride from Paris to Amsterdam on my final day before getting into Amsterdam. So in my cycling gear. And I really enjoyed these long distance bike rides because it's a great opportunity to get in good fitness and good time to think and to sort of reflect and to meditate. So an honor to be here. Thank you.
That's great. You should check out Tech Bikers. That's a cool organization, you know already, that does kind of these rides. I've also been participating, and cool.
And Samuel? There is no, unfortunately, escape from that.
You are still muted. Maybe Basti could have had a try. Maybe next time to unmute him from the background. But I guess, Era, I think
Yes.
You're on the spot.
Yeah, I'm on the spot. So unfortunately, I guess I have not many more. So, okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Hey, I can hear you.
I don't know what's going on here. I had two crowdcasts open and it was like splitting both ways. And I was like, whoa, I'm in a tunnel. Wow, great to meet you guys. Michael, your bike trip sounds amazing. I hope it's glorious for you. Where are you, by the way? I'm just curious because I didn't hear like 3
in in Rotterdam at the moment. So just
In Rotterdam.
70 kilometers from Amsterdam. So see you tomorrow.
Wow, cool, awesome. Well, yeah. Hey guys, I'm Bao, calling from DAOhaus. Yeah, I guess fun fact, or what was the prompt? I'm sorry, I had really bad audio.
Fun fact. This is it.
Okay. Yeah. Fun fact. I'm into birds. And here's a fun fact about bald-headed geese. They can fly up to 48,000 feet and travel for over 12 hours in flight before landing again, which is just an unbelievable kind of thing that happens through nature, and I'm blown away. But yeah, I guess we'll pass the mic back to Mario.
Yeah, first of all, that's a really insightful fun fact. Thank you for sharing. Definitely, like, I did not know about that. And now it's my time. And then my time is okay. You know what? I love all the vegetables except okra. Okra, I hate okra. So yeah, it's not a fun fact maybe, but this is something about me. Here you go.
Definitely counts. Don't worry. That's it's fine. Okay, cool. So now that we know who we're talking to on a fun level, let's maybe dive into what you guys are about, right? And your organizations are about. So maybe we can just have a bit of a view. Era introduced, who you are and who you work with, but what are you, what is it all about, your organization, and what are you working on right now? That'd be great to hear. If
I'll volunteer here, I guess. Basically DAOhaus, it comes from it originated in East Berlin at a hackathon, but it actually came more from like the inspiration of why we came to be DAOhaus was Bauhaus, which is a design philosophy that kind of brings parts from a bunch of kind of fundamental or primitive things that occur in nature, right? I think that's kind of where it comes from, at least my perception. So, but what we are, it's a no-code platform for actually creating your own DAO. So basically, we just provide an interface for people to use Moloch DAOs, which is a specific type of smart contract and DAO framework. So we provide people the tools they need to essentially coordinate. And what that really means is each DAO comes with a treasury, shares, and basically a governance model, so people can make proposals and whatnot.
Great. You can pass the ball to whoever you choose.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Eva.
Thank you. So your name is Bao, or that's your nickname, correct, Samuel?
Yeah, that's my call name or avatar,
okay.
Kind of. Yeah, but it's my it's a nickname for my last name, Baurle.
I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name is Eva. Eva Oberholzer. I work at DFINITY. DFINITY is the foundation behind the Internet Computer Protocol. I joined 3 weeks ago, so I will probably be quite limited, or I will share only limited information because I'm still like trying to to get foot into the company and the protocol and the community and everything. But it has been a great journey. For those of you who are not aware of who DFINITY is or what the Internet Computer Protocol is, our ambition is we basically reimagine blockchain from its origin and try to come up or truly democratize the internet. So we, as the name says, Internet Computer, we are building an Internet Computer. Which means that's a blockchain, an open source, permissionless blockchain that runs on web speed. You can host infinite computation and data on chain. And also what we do, we allow smart contracts to serve interactive web content directly to users without the need of cloud services. So this is a bit our aim, that we can bypass Amazon Web Services, all the big cloud providers, and enable interaction and computation directly peer-to-peer, literally peer-to-peer. And as I mentioned, I started 3 weeks ago. The launch of ICP, of the Internet Computer Protocol, happened last year, including the token launch. We are now almost a year in production, live, and obviously have a thriving and a growing developer community, especially, and are now building up and moving from just being an R&D company as DFINITY to become a full-fledged foundation for a growing community. And that is actually my role at the foundation. I'm Chief Growth Officer. So my remit is to see how can we drive adoption and how can we bring new people in and make the beautiful code and capabilities accessible to other people.
Great. Congratulations to the anniversary and to the new job.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Yes, you handed over to Michael already.
Cool. Super inspiring, Eva. Congratulations on your position. My name is Michael. I'm half Singapore and half British. Been building tech companies the past 12 years. Got into crypto in 2010. I was working at WikiLeaks, built the Android app so people could basically view documents. The governments froze our bank accounts like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. So that got me into Bitcoin. Now I'm one of the co-founders of Unit, and Unit basically empowers individuals and creates this idea of the token economy. So, we live in a world now where there's two sides. There's the people who start things, the founders and the investors, and there's the customers and employees. We envision a world where, there's millions of DAOs, and the ownership of everything is much more distributed. So where does Unit fit into all of this? Unit is a really easy to use DAO builder. We are our own blockchain on the Polkadot network, built to Substrate, and make it really easy, to create a DAO. You just give it a name, a symbol, a supply of it, and you've created a DAO. We've got a bunch of powerful features like an exchange, a bank, a treasury, and yeah, we whether you've got a small business, you've got a community, you want to create a DAO for yourself as a person, Unit is there for you. And yeah, really, really grateful to be here for this conversation and excited for what we're going to discuss ahead. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for introducing what you guys do and what your organizations do. Just a quick reminder before I hand over to Era, to the listeners. At the end, we will have the opportunity for a Q&A and ask some questions. So if you have, there's an Ask a Question section on the bottom. Please use it if you have a question, so we can spot it and see it. And yes, from here on out, we have our panel discussion open. Era.
Gladly. All right. So the first question I would want to ask, because it interests me first of all a lot, and then I think audience too. When you first involved with DAOs, right? The biggest surprise for you, I'm interested with, maybe an eye-opening moment when you said, "Oh, okay," What was that? Michael, can we start with you maybe?
Yeah, most definitely. So I think my aha moment for DAOs was realizing that, when you witness projects be able to be funded from hundreds or thousands of people without a single entity or intermediary, deciding whether it's possible. So the same way, the internet gave an unlimited amount of information, the mobile gave it super easy to communicate. What I saw with the value of tokens or DAOs is how, information was made super easy with the internet. Communication was made super easy with mobile. I think when I realized that DAOs could really unlock the potential of value and money, where people experience it in a way where it just moves around the economy much more fluidly. The everyday person is able to be a micro investor and buy into lots of different projects and communities and businesses and have a vested stake in its success. That made me go, wow, people are underestimating the potential of this technology. People are thinking, it should be just for protocols, or it should be just for art and when I realized that, it can be applied towards every single business or project, that made me, really excited for its potential.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be a net. I definitely can understand that. Eva, how about you?
I think my aha moment was, first of all, when I realized that it's possible to have an organization without centralized ownership. That was first. I was totally confused about this concept and what you explained, Michael. And then I think when I realized also a bit what the origin is. I don't know what you have discussed earlier, but that this is actually repeating itself. For example, I think the origin was, okay, we somehow try to avoid securities law and therefore create a new system which is owned by a group, and therefore manage it in an autonomous way. And I thought that was the first generation, and that's a while ago. And now that we saw the crypto block in China again, and I talked to many Chinese crypto interested people, and they were like, "Oh, I'm so happy that there are DEXs, and actually that is via VPN our chance to still remain in crypto, etc." I was like, "Wow, this is crazy," because it's a regulation. It's a nation like China that actually a DAO enables the people from China to bypass their own regulator and their own government. And that was like, okay, that kind of showed me the real potential that's behind the concept and how big it can get.
Yes, I think definitely this would be the Michael. We have a Michael. This would be the biggest case and for everyone. And Samuel, how are you?
Yes. Yeah, I would say my aha moment was very specific. It was in 2019. There was just like the ETH Denver conference that takes place in Denver, Colorado. And I was probably only 20, or maybe, yeah, I was maybe 20 years old. I was pretty young. And I'm at this conference, and I'm studying econ and trying to kind of totally drill down into how the banking system works, how monetary policy works, how foreign exchange works, and also simultaneously wanting to understand community currencies. And in this time, that's when I had first been kind of in the physical world with people in the blockchain and crypto community, building tools to manage wealth and cryptocurrency simultaneously through using a DAO. And I guess the aha in that is any group of people can come together, pull capital, and deploy it at their own fruition, right?
Yeah.
And legally, what does that mean? That's like brings a whole bunch of implications. And I think one of the things we're trying to think about is like, okay, how can we actually create self-regulation within this framework of everybody can use a DAO, can have a treasury, can coordinate that capital, but how can we make it so it isn't necessarily interacting with things like money laundering and doing actually negative activity that we don't want in the space. But that's a different can of worms that I don't want to open. But yeah, that's kind of what that thing was that just made it click for me. It was like anybody in the world can use these tools to coordinate what capital or shares or whatever you want to call it. Like they can coordinate membership in a club globally, and just based on a chat room and having some values alignment and mission or purpose, right? So very, very foundational, but amazing.
Definitely, I can understand that. We have actually questions from the audience, and I think it is related what's coming up with my question, which is actually, we talk about the DAOs and have to, have them manage them, But since our topic is also how to succeed with our DAOs, like we're going to talk about this in details a lot, actually, in a second. But for the successful DAO, right? For the key words, what would we need? And I think it goes along with the audience's question as well, because I think one of the keywords would be here to the community, you know, like building the community, how important actually that part, the community building part for the successful DAOs. And on that note, we can start with you, Eva, if you don't mind.
Sorry, I just changed some settings.
You can pass the mic if you want to.
Can I pass quickly?
Just for now.
Guys.
All right, Michael, you take it.
Oh, okay.
Yep, most definitely. I think you know
well,
what made
looks
Bitcoin.
Like you're gonna take it actually.
We may have a lag.
Michael, I think, is having troubles, but Samuel, if you could take it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I guess community building in DAOs, how to find your place. I think it all starts with a question of agency and like what you're really, yeah, it's really assessing yourself a little bit, reflecting on what are your skills and your abilities and how do they relate to the values of the organization you want to contribute to, whatever the values are. And then once you make that assessment, it's just like, okay, what do I need to be successful? What tools can we get into your hands to get you to the point from point A to point B or point A to point F? Really like go as far down that kind of list of things you can do. And this is the path of self-selection, right? It's the path of you're learning while you're also teaching. It's kind of this recursive loop, right? It's a feedback loop. It's like a control system in engineering or like a complex system where it takes the output and feeds it back through as an input. And I think in the case of, yeah, onboarding, how that looks is just an individual, you know, taking up a specific task, right? Where they're learning something while simultaneously sharing that knowledge through basically, you know, what did they successfully accomplish and what did it take to do that thing? I'm very speaking at such a macro or a micro level, so I apologize. Maybe I should expand it out a little bit, but yeah, that's kind of how I see onboarding working. Is it's just like this self-selection and reflective, reflexive, flexible process where it's like you meet a contributor where they're at and you try to get them to the point that they want to be at, and you try to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I can maybe add the macro level. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I mean, we are a layer 1, so I guess we have a bit of a bigger, but it's quite similar. Actually, our NNS is also probably one of the biggest DAOs that exists right now. This is the nervous system. It's kind of where the ledger is hosted on the blockchain, and I think like this entire new notion of decentralization, and that's like part of a layer 1 or part of a mission of a foundation of a layer 1, but it's also part if you really aim to become a decentralized autonomous organization. It's like how do you rethink business models and how do you bring communities in and what is your particular role in that? So what we know from how we managed things in the past, you worked for organizations and you had a clear goal. And in this particular case, it's all about creating an ecosystem and actually do some sort of growth hacking. I hate that word, but I couldn't find another one. But so my previous job was at the Cardano Foundation. So I also have really experience with probably one of the largest communities that is out there. And like doing community management, having the notion of actually those are the participants of the network, they are the owner of the network, and somehow they want to contribute, and you have to guide them into the right direction, or you first have to bring them on board. It's very a new set of mindset that is required. It's really not like, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of money to actually come to the end goal. It's more like, where can I add some sparks, and like, how do I enable and empower others to be great? So it's all about impact, and this is very, very new. The entire concept is very new, and I think being creative and trying things out, knowing, okay, we are in the forefront of something totally new. We do something that nobody else has done before. We have to teach the people that now come in and that hasn't been part of the ecosystem. I think that is really key, being open and just try yourself and engage, and like this you kind of become, you have a fan community, and then you thrive and you bring stuff forward. But you have to leverage the community. I think that's very important.
That's a very key word. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I think learning from the success of successful DAOs like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and you look at many of the big decentralized movements. I think one key piece is a compelling vision. Something that really solves a problem that people can feel a calling towards. If you look at companies like Apple or companies like Google, they focused on something really simple which everyone could connect with, and also solved a very critical need. So I think one big opportunity for the next evolution of DAOs is really to focus on a very clear problem in society, or identify a very clear problem, and then collectively work together in solving it. I think one thing that we'll also notice in the next generation of DAOs is where there's a strong and sustainable economic model, because many of the DAOs or digital assets that we've witnessed so far have largely depended on new investor capital, sort of supporting it and sort of funneling its growth. And I think what we're going to witness next, similar with the internet or the early stage mobile apps, is that we're going to witness DAOs which become much more sustainable. So they have very clear business model, they have a very clear economic model, and this really allows it to grow, scale, and thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's actually such a good point in it. There's some similarities to other, also, let's say, industries where, I know, for, let's say, social topics or impact sustainability topics, where it was hugely money being funneled from one place into the space creates kind of the innovation. But and now, for example, for impact sustainability space of the past 5 years, right, there's more and more come, or maybe 5 to 10. More and more come like, okay, there's like sustainable business model that works for our current system also that we have, and this is actually moving to a sustainable space. Very interesting observation. As for, I want to dive a little bit into the DAOs of your organization. So the question, so where we're coming from our past crowdcasts about DAOs, was we heard there's different types of DAOs. There's there is you can build up a DAO to a certain extent, right? Or not, right? So it's not DAO or not DAO. It's different flavors of DAOs. And yes. Question being, is your organization also itself run as a DAO? And if it is run as a DAO, what is the current state of it, right? And maybe if you have like different stages that you went through from, okay, we started here, for example, we heard about you start as a regular kind of a classic kind of incorporated entity, and then you move slowly towards a DAO, or kind of how is your organization run, and what's the state of the DAO? Volunteers.
This is a good one, a really great question. So yeah, I guess DAOhaus, how it operated at first was kind of as a DAO. They were using a multi-sig to begin. So just using a Gnosis safe, which basically a multi-sig is a wallet where you can have multiple key signers. and then, yeah, basically they can initiate transactions among themselves. But so DAOhaus, that's how they coordinated, I think, initially. But once the interface was actually created, we used the DAOhaus app to manage our own treasury and governance. And then from there, it was kind of how everyone started was like everyone had to stake capital, their own individual capital, to back the treasury for actually building the platform as a collective. So they paid themselves out of their own capital, essentially, right? And then they leveled that up and did something what was called a CCO, which is a community contribution opportunity, which basically allowed any contributor in the DAOhaus ecosystem to participate in getting house tokens for their deposited DAI or whatever cryptocurrency native network token you can think of. Ethereum was also used. And then that's kind of all granular stuff, boring. Scale it up where we're at now, kind of this organization where we've raised capital from contributors in the community. We didn't actually go live with the token until we actually didn't put it on any exchange until we created a sustainable treasury where we were already paying contributors out. And we basically kept the token within the community's management until we felt comfortable putting it on an exchange. And that was last year when we did that. But now how it operates, it's really interesting. We use this tool called Coordinape, which allows people to distribute value subjectively among the people that they're working with. So on a monthly basis, we'll run a Coordinape epoch where people can distribute house tokens to the other contributors in the network. And then that way, new contributors who are coming in can actually get added to that and earn some house as well. So basically, they're gaining agency in that exchange, and that's another piece. They're gaining some, I guess, some incentive for having participated or contributed, right? And then they can actually take that and stake it into the DAOhaus DAO that we have for ownership, and that gives them voting shares, and then that's kind of their first wave of being able to contribute in a DAO. So that's kind of how we're doing onboarding, but that's also how we're doing like treasury management. Governance is like, okay, people can put capital in. We don't really generally do that. We haven't, like, for instance, I only had to back my shares once where I had to deposit 500 of my own capital to like back my shares, or you earn house tokens to back your shares. So that's kind of how it works at a very basic level.
Okay. How many contributors do you have in your ecosystem? What's your community, like, to get an idea of the the animal that that the DAOs
that's a great question. So DAOhaus has over 2,000 DAOs, 10,000 unique members, a part of those DAOs. But the core team only has maybe roughly 45 people in that Coordinape circle. And then underneath that, who have stake and own shares in the core DAO and can vote on proposals and whatnot, there's only 32 people in that DAO. And then there's another layer of complexity that I don't want to introduce right now, but maybe we'll get to at some point.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, this is something for, like, we could talk about this for 2 hours, right? With compared kind of the classic kind of structure of a company where you have the classic kind of steps of number of employees, right? Where you have need or in the classic sense need like a management level or like another layer, right? And it kind of builds up like this. How does it translate into DAOs when the community grows? Is there some kind of how to manage? But it's like, as you say, it's like a whole topic.
Scaling is so interesting, and I would love to talk about it, but I want to let these guys talk too. So
so just to you guys also to repeat just real quick, this was about the stage, and Michael, you've been dropping out for a bit. Not sure if you heard us about the state of your organization DAO, what type of DAO it is, and what's your state.
Definitely. So Unit as a DAO builder, we've got about 500 DAOs on our platform. Our community is about 30,000 people. We've raised about 12 million US dollars. A lot of it has been from our core team or our close advisors. We've got 50 people on our core team. We want to grow to 200 people this year. How we manage our core team is we basically have four units or four areas. It goes MOP, so marketing, organization, product, and sales. So marketing is driving, signups. It's getting people to hear about it. It's getting exposure. Organization is hiring and retaining people and talent within the organization. Product is building a product that's really good that people will use and tell other people about. And then sales is getting people who hear about it to buy and to support and to purchase, basically. So our 50 people are split amongst these four roles. Of the 500 DAOs that have been issued, it ranges from individual, personal DAOs, communities, conferences, like a really large festival DAO, and we're really excited for the long tail of DAOs. So we imagine there's going to be 100,000 DAOs and 100 million DAOs, then 7 billion DAOs. Now there are about 12,000 coins or tokens that exist, and I'll say most of them are not super actively used, and many of them are, as mentioned, largely based by speculative value. So you've got DAOs or coins which are worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, and the way we like to think DAOs should be valued is we have this concept of a bank and a treasury. So when a project sells some of its tokens or a DAO sells some of its tokens, that money goes into the bank, and that's for operations, that's for financing, paying team members, for buying equipment, operations costs, basically. Now, when that entity or that DAO generates lots of value or provides a product or service and generates some element of return, it goes into this thing called treasury. And what the treasury does, it provides a floor price. And why this is so important is most coins or tokens, you buy into them at the moment and there is no floor. So, you can buy into a coin that's $100 or $1,000, and your friend tells you, hey, you should buy some more. And they're like, and there's no good indicator of underlying value. And we think that, DAOs and tokens are going to follow the same way traditional businesses or companies or startups are valued, based on something called book value. So the amount of assets that are backing it up, and a multiple of however it's growing, basically a multiple of profit. So if you look at publicly traded companies or stocks, it follows the same methodology of being valued. And we think that this will translate soon towards DAOs and tokens. And why this is so interesting is because it will allow millions or tens of millions of people around the world to get their thing, whatever they want, financed, to make their ideas or dreams come true. And if they have something which is working already, they don't need to sell it to a big corporation or to big entity. They can sell portions of it, and it allows the community, the customers and the employees, to get a piece of the pie. Yep. So that's my 2 cents. And over to you, Eva.
Thank you, Michael. So I think the original question was, is your company a DAO? I would say yes, because I mentioned the NNS, the Network Nervous System. So the NNS is basically a community DAO. It's an autonomous tokenized governance system of the ICP, of the Internet Computer Protocol. It's open, it's permissionless, and decentralized. That's why we call it a community DAO. It's basically the heart of the entire protocol, because you can basically run. You can make changes directly on chain on the protocol in the NNS, which means you submit a proposal and the proposal is automatically executed without a need of a hard fork or any other disruption of the system or of the operations of the protocol. So I guess that's super advanced and especially like a USP of ICP. In addition to that, we are currently working on the SNS. This is the system nervous system, and it's actually made for like DAO builders and for new entrepreneurs and business builders that want to build directly on the ICP. On the Internet Computer Protocol, and then also want to have tokenized governance available. And that should be, I think, launched in the next few weeks. Nevertheless, smart contracts are already possible. It's possible to build on the ICP, and we see a lot of things happening right now. What my view is, I think one of the apps or the DAOs I like the most is Open Chats, it's called. It's basically like WhatsApp or a Telegram or whatever kind of chat service that is not hosted. As I said, we don't rely on Amazon Web Services, so it's really end to end. And I think that has a lot of interest and traction, and I think that is something, especially for DAOs, that can have a huge potential. So to look at applications that we already know today, that we actually love today, but we still, I don't know, we are not really, we are concerned about data security, about data ownership, etc. And I guess that is that is really a huge potential I see in the future developments and use cases for DAOs. And you can also see that when you talk to VCs. Obviously, we talk to many VCs. It's not our intention to build DAOs, so to build on top of ICP, because that's not our mission, but obviously we want to enable the community to do so. We'll have a hackathon in May where we give out 6 million in grants for new projects. DAOs are going to be one of the categories. But if you talk to VCs, it's very much, if you solve an existing problem with a DAO, you gain their attention. So that is a bit of, an observation that I've done, but maybe you have other observations.
Yeah,
in that
makes
area.
kind of makes sense. Thanks for sharing to all of you. We really the time is flying, right? We're always almost already at the end, but yeah, it's kind of interesting when the new world and the old world and how things used to work kind of interface, and what's what's important when you talk to VCs. Yeah, you have to solve a real problem, and kind of the direction of the DAO is clear, because also I think we all know examples of DAOs where they just maybe that's not so clear, and it goes in all kinds of directions. And this is also to me personally very interesting to there's the possibility to let the organization evolve itself, right? To let it free without, even in an extreme case, without guidance, right? It's like, okay, a bunch of people would define kind of values, or I don't know, like a very, very foundation of what brings us together in this DAO, and then you just see what people do, and it can develop in any direction, this complete freedom.
You're describing a really difficult problem of organization, of really being able to let an organization exist without strangling it, without choking it, so that people want to run away from it, because it no longer aligns with their values, because what was built wasn't actually what the organization wanted to build. And that's like just a complicating idea at its core. But I think the way we tease against this is we do everything within our own, I think, individual roles to try and contribute and bring about whatever we want to develop in a given organization. So to make it more concrete, like at DAOhaus, sometimes I pull my foot off the pedal when I hear conversation happening about where we want to take tokenomics, or how we want to do treasury management, and what decisions are made around that. It's kind of like sometimes it's good to just surrender and let the group kind of formulate.
No, it was fine. We could hear you. Now you're muted, but it's fine. I will also I will hand over to Era for last. If you have a couple of more minutes for one question, maybe Q&A question that we still have, that Era will present to you. But one maybe on the other side, we talked about how it works and what worked for you guys. If you have, what is a DAO killer that you saw? Like when DAO start, this is like this kind of just brings it to a halt sooner or later. If any. If there are none, also fine. We don't need to kill our DAOs, but
Maybe one is a lack of a clear need. So if there isn't a problem to be solved, and someone's creating a DAO for it, then it's kind of like building a business when there's no problem to be solved. I like to think of DAOs as very similar to businesses, but it's just a much better way to create a business, to solve a problem, to fund an issue. Similar to, if someone wants to open a retail store versus an e-commerce store, doing it online is much easier, lower costs, scales much better, open 24 hours a day. A DAO is, a significantly better way of building an organization than a traditional setup. But, if you are to build something, you do need an underlying thing that you're solving. So like an example of a DAO that we worked on, like a simple community project, there was a road in Indonesia but connecting two towns, and the government didn't have the money to solve it. Very traditionally, someone could say launch a Kickstarter, and several people had tried to launch Kickstarters and it never worked. We created a DAO, created a token, it got funded, and it also provided a way for people who supported, in the financing to get a return from it. So, it's just a nice way of showing how a very simple problem, funding public infrastructure, can be done with a DAO. And if you're really creative, you can approach any problem in the world through the form of DAO. If you think of your current business, or you think of your passion, if you somehow fit a DAO into it, it will be much better. The community would have invested stake in its success. People have, a bigger reason to care. They help with your decision making. If you've got a problem which needs to be solved, you can give some stake of the DAO to the community and they'll help you solve it. So I highly recommend everyone to dive right deep into DAOs.
That was an amazing example.
I can add to that. Please. I think what was gonna be crucial is we're very much in a blockchain and techie adopter bubble. So when we really think in mass adoption, I used to work at PwC. That was my long time ago, my corporate time, and it was funny. We tested tools and robots on people, and looked if they really trust the code. And there is a similar element in a DAO. So if we think of, okay, maybe there can be an Uber, without decentralized organization, it can be run as a DAO. The question is always, will the people trust, not the people that are actually contributing and that are part of the repos and are the devs behind it, the whole rest, will they trust in the solution, or is the utility that high that they actually don't care about the security risk? I think that will be, especially since we're talking about killer DAOs, I think that will be a very, very important element, that we all think obviously code is way more, algorithms are way more trustful than people are, but many people don't think that way. And with the machines, actually, when they started talking to the people, they trusted them, which was very, very funny to see. It was exactly the same algorithm, but it became human. So I think that is maybe also something that I don't know, it's just
we got to remember robots are built by humans, right? We need to be careful with trusting them with everything. But obviously, of course, that's we both agree on that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the largest risk being new people coming in and just getting burned, getting wiped out, where basically they contribute to a project and that the founders or whomever just takes their money and runs. That will be the thing that probably gets people super just not interested at all in what we're doing here. So the key, I think, is trust, right? How do we establish trust right at the start? How do I know you're human? We have an interaction. It's our Discord interactions are they should be very similar to human interactions in real life, right? Despite them being through a digital medium. And I think that's what we want to try and resolve is how can we make this more fluid? How can we make this more in line with who we are as people? Because at the core, that's what we are, and that's what we're doing, and it's beautiful.
It's great. If you maybe last one, I know, but last question. If is there anything out there something like a due diligence, a DAO due diligence kind of organization? I don't know, something that can give somebody who's not so deep into the ecosystem, or even anyone, an indication of how not risky to engage with particular organizations this is?
Yeah, I would say the best kind of approach for that is starting to get involved in a community, and by joining a Discord, reading whatever information they provide you, and try to make a kind of calculated decision around, do I feel like this is good, this is right. Really just try and feel where you're at with what you're doing, I think. And also consider, what kind of DAO you're interacting with, right? Because there's all these different types of DAOs. There's token DAOs or token-based DAOs. There's NFT communities who have created DAOs. There's a lot of DAOs that rely on a central party to actually execute decisions on behalf of everybody through Snapshot.
This is basically our own kind of judgment. I thought maybe there's like somebody gives a stamp. It's like, look, this is
right,
approved. Kind of.
It should be that clean. It's not that clean though.
Please, Michael.
I think where it'll get really clean is this idea of a floor price. So, at the moment, now almost all coins and tokens are 100% speculative value,
right.
Meaning that, you could buy into a DAO, you buy into a coin, and it could go to zero tomorrow. And it's really tough. Like, if you look at Ethereum, it's valued at, $300, $400 billion. That's a lot of speculative value. It's got a lot of room to go down. So the next evolution of DAOs are where it starts off at maybe 1 million or 5 million or 10 million in speculative value, and needs to work really hard to provide a lot of value to the community, provide lots of products and services to build up this floor price of digital assets. So why this is interesting is you'll be able to look at two different DAOs. Let's say the Mario versus the Bao DAO, and you'll be able to see, okay, maybe both have no treasury, so which one is higher speculatively priced? And then if one has half of its value in a treasury, you're like, okay, this is interesting. At least in the worst case scenario, I'm only going to lose half my money. And then you look at how fast this treasury is growing, and then that gives a very definitive way and tool of assessing economically the value of a DAO. So I think this is what's going to drive the next generation of DAOs.
Cool. Thanks.
And as in crypto, the general rule, when it sounds too good to be true, there's something wrong.
And one more general point, price talks. Try and, if you see a lot of price talk happening within a channel and it's not coherent, try and engage somewhere else. And then if you can't figure that out, then maybe try a different community.
Cool. Era, no. I'm keeping my mouth shut. Maybe you have one more question from the audience and we wrap it up.
We every time towards the end of our crowdcast, we surprisingly say time flies, but time really do flies, and we can talk about this infinitive time of amount, and that has been very good conversation. So I would want to ask from an audience, I don't want to leave it unanswered. How do you guide potential contributors into the right direction? So we talked about, like how to succeed and what's the key factors and everything, but this is actually a key question, I guess, so they can actually support the project. Please, so we can maybe start with Michael.
Thanks so much, Sarah. So I guess one way we like to approach this is just breaking down exactly what the problem is which needs to be solved and how people can do it from a quantitative approach. So it's kind of like, imagine you want people to share videos about a specific topic. Then you just make it super easy for people to tackle a problem. If you sort of break down the task, then people can work together to strive towards this goal. So if you're building a DAO for, let's say, your music career, you're building a DAO for let's say you have a local restaurant, you kind of identify, okay, where do we want this organization to be at in the future? And then offer a really simple way for the community to engage. Don't make it, too ambitious and challenging, but really make it bite-sized and easy to approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Eva?
Yeah, I would say probably like something in line with Michael, what you're saying. I think just like getting people into a simple scenario where they can start doing things within a DAO is like a good way for people to onboard into DAOs specifically. try and attend some IRL real event, and maybe you'll even get some tokens to participate in a DAO. I think like looking for different ways to, I guess, like to offer the guidance. Yeah, I think just really like doing something that you see fits well with what you want to do in a DAO. And that is so broad and difficult. I'm a writer, so like, where did that come from? I studied econ and minored in finance and politics, and like could have gone this different route of going into the finance world, but I saw so much value being generated and created here that I was like, I can't possibly turn my head away from what I've already seen. And I want to, figure out how I can fit into this meld, into this mesh, right? It's really a mesh network of different roles and people, and then filling into places where they can actually meet the needs of the organization. So I guess the question is, how do you meet the needs of the organization? How can the organization also support you? Like, what skills do you bring to the table? And I think like documentation, writing, marketing, any kind of community management is super powerful and valuable. So really just being able to be a resource for knowledge, and also kind of, gearing people, or like preparing people for whatever they're stepping into. That's like, again, base level, but yeah, I think that is honestly a role that anybody can fill. So
Definitely. Eva?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's not much to add, except for, I guess, the part where, hey, look into things you're really interested in, not only from a like a technical perspective, but also from a, I don't know, a hobby or like general interest perspective, because there are so many new application DAOs popping up. So if you want to take part or be part of an existing DAO, I guess that would be a thing I would look out to. And especially that is something I find so beautiful about the entire blockchain space, and what is now happening in DeFi, that not only people that are knowledgeable about financial markets and structured products and etc. are able to actually use their skills to invest in things, or to be part of a market. There is now, with the tokenization aspect, so many markets popping up in different areas. So I guess that is one thing. And if you want to build a DAO yourself, I mean, it's crazy what is actually happening, what is at the moment happening in the current stage. We have so many protocols. They do hackathons. They connect you to VCs. They connect you to, I don't know, they kind of incubate you. We are now building a DAO factory with our community, together with PwC for auditing questions and those kind of things. So there's so much going on and so many opportunities, and you're still an early adopter. So, and there's a lot of funding. Like, you can go into whatever space and whatever blockchain, and there's so much money there. And I guess that is just, use the momentum and go in and try out. It's
Definitely. Don't be a
It's
shy.
very empowering.
Well said. We are nearly an hour 58 minutes it has been. Thank you so much for our audience and our guests for today. But before closing, we need to say that we do have next week a bonus episode, which will take place in German language, and the topic will be about the legal frameworks. But of course, the subtitle will be available, and all the information will be online soon. That being said, thank you so much for your time. And Mario, is there anything that you would want to add?
Yes, just a big thank you to you, Eva, Michael, Bao. Audience, please check out Unit Network, DFINITY, DAOhaus. really thanks for participating and sharing your insights. Very, very much needed to educate the whole space. So thanks a lot. It's appreciated. And
all the links can be found on the chat, by the way, on the chat site. Just a reminder.
Cheers, everybody. Party on. The conversation was good.
It was
yeah,
amazing.
It was very enjoyable. It was one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Hope you have a great day. And Michael, hope you make the last 8 kilometers.